Continuing from the previous part, the main character faces a tough challenge at a different training center, but with Kim Min-jun's overwhelming skills, it probably won't be an issue. One morning, 3 cars and a large group of soldiers gathered in front of the training center. Kim Min-jun, make sure to call me when you reach the base, okay? The bald rookie, tearfully saying goodbye, parted ways with everyone to embark on new adventures. It should have been an emotional moment, but thanks to Kim Min-jun's words, it turned into a cold-hearted farewell. Eventually, the bald rookie left. Everyone else had already been picked up by their new units. Only Kim Min-jun was left alone. Just as he was wondering why he was the only one left, a heavy military truck roared in. The man who got out of the car called out to him loudly. Kim Min-ji, with a towering build and a scarred face wearing dark sunglasses, looked incredibly intimidating. The man explained that due to the snow, they had taken quite some time, making Kim Min-jun wait longer. Kim Min-jun modestly reported his rank and patiently waited. His main concern was the snow. It was only a few months into the year, and there was already snow. Kim Min-ji's mannerisms were very rigid. As they got into the vehicle, Kim Min-jun began thinking about the harsh training, the frequent battles with monsters, and the new life at the base. However, none of this was a problem for him. His main worry was bullying, the one thing he couldn't tolerate but had to endure because causing trouble with superiors even once could get him sent to a military prison like any ordinary soldier. After a long journey, the Hunter Regiment was finally in sight. And indeed, there was snow. The regiment belonged to the 104th Division, and Kim Min-jun was assigned to the 2nd Battalion. As soon as he opened the door to his room, Uncle Kim Min-ji pushed him in and briefly said, "Teach this recruit." The door closed with a thud. The red-haired and brown-haired guys simultaneously gaped. They asked, "What's your name?" Hearing the name Kim Min-jun, they burst out laughing. His reputation had spread quite far. The red-haired guy snatched Kim Min-jun's luggage and tossed it to another bald guy, ordering him to unpack it. Kim Min-jun scowled. Were these two the ringleaders of the dormitory, treating him like a new toy? The brown-haired guy asked, "Why are you here?" Kim Min-jun seriously replied, "For combat experience and the fastest route to promotion." "You're out of your mind," they both laughed uproariously. They then started asking all sorts of crazy questions, mostly about women. The soldiers, stationed there year-round, must have been quite desperate. Unfortunately, Kim Min-jun, being straight and somewhat obsessed with women, had to steer the conversation elsewhere. When asked to demonstrate his talent, Kim Min-jun raised one finger and said he would do push-ups with it. The red-haired guy thought it was nonsense until Kim Min-jun performed a one-finger handstand, his body as straight as a pole, leaving the two amazed. Seeing this, they mentioned someone they called "that bastard." That bastard was just a sergeant. Coincidentally, he arrived at the door, not looking pleased to see Kim Min-jun doing a handstand right at the entrance. With a stern voice and eyes flashing with red anger, he said, "Get out of the way." Recognizing him, the red-haired and brown-haired guys mocked him without holding back, which naturally angered Sergeant Lee Sungo. However, this outburst made the troublemakers leave. Finally, Lee Sungo sighed and lay down to rest. Barely closing his eyes for a few seconds, he pulled out his phone to watch a video lecture on dungeon terrain. After a while, he called Private First Class Dongjin to guide Kim Min-jun thoroughly. Kim Min-jun respectfully greeted his superior but asked to talk after they reached the dining hall. Dongjin was taken aback, explaining that you couldn't go there casually. Dongjin led Kim Min-jun to the dining hall and generously treated him to a meal. If he had known Kim Min-jun would devour 300,000 won worth of food, he might have heeded Kim Min-jun's warning about his large appetite. Sadly, there was no way to undo his foolish decision. While eating like a pig, Kim Min-jun asked Dongjin about the rules preventing casual dining, requiring special permission. Privates and below can only come here on weekends, Dongjin gently explained. Additionally, to use the gym, you needed to be at least a private first class, and to use the PC room, you had to be a corporal. Hearing this, Kim Min-jun almost choked on his snack. Sensing his frustration with these unreasonable rules, Dongjin helplessly reminded him to get used to it. "Is there no way to change this?" Kim Min-jun immediately asked. "There's only one way, which is to keep getting promoted," Dongjin replied. That was a given, but the restriction on the PC room was a significant issue for a gaming addict like Kim Min-jun. The two had an open conversation about promotions. At that moment, a rooster-haired guy came over, draped his arm around Dongjin, and mockingly greeted him. He was Sergeant Kim Gwangshik. Seeing him, Dongjin quickly invited him to join them for a meal. Of course, the cheeky guy didn't refuse. He ate voraciously, and Kim Min-jun began to find him annoying. Gwangshik warned them not to slack off during tomorrow's weapon training, regardless of being new. Dongjin assured him he had informed the recruit about the training. Gwangshik interrupted him, berating Dongjin further. This was the moment Kim Min-jun couldn't stand him anymore. He decided to unleash some dark energy, making Gwangshik vomit everything he had just eaten. Even if it was free food, it couldn't be wasted like that. Amid their lively chatter, a sudden electric shock caused Kim Gwangshik to stop talking abruptly. He hurriedly stood up and checked the expiration dates on various snacks. His face darkened, and he clutched his stomach before leaving. Even low-level skills can, in certain situations, make chronic troublemakers suffer severe consequences. The two resumed their conversation about weapon training, which was simply using a KX-2 rifle with more powerful bullets than ICM rounds, having significant recoil and sounding like a cannon. But this didn't surprise or worry Kim Min-jun, as it couldn't compare to the long-range weapons in Isgard. The power of that handgun could be compared to an elephant, crushing anything in its path. Tomorrow is going to be exciting, he thought, looking at the target board mangled beyond recognition. Even a single missed shot made Kim Min-jun feel it was too poor a performance. However, hitting 19 out of 20 shots was considered a rare feat here. Even the red-haired guy from the day before only held the record with 14 hits. Observers from above couldn't help but exclaim, "What a monster, what a beast." The scar-faced sergeant who picked him up earlier came out to commend him, placing special trust in him for the special weapon training session that afternoon. The red-haired and brown-haired guys started to snicker again but were scolded on the spot by the scar-faced sergeant. Kim Min-jun, still unclear about what this special weapon training entailed, didn't realize that Dong-jin hadn't anticipated his exceptional performance and thus hadn't explained it fully. Essentially, it involved a team of two entering a training facility to eliminate monsters. On the way to the goal, they had to avoid shooting at civilian targets that could appear suddenly. Hearing about live monsters made Kim Min-jun very excited. During lunch, Dong-jin expressed his admiration for Kim Min-jun's unprecedented achievement of hitting 19 shots in the Hunter Regiment. Speaking of good marksmanship, there was another person in the regiment, Lee Sung-go, who averaged 17 accurate shots. So now, Kim Min-jun had taken the top spot, right? Nonetheless, Dong-jin had high hopes for Kim Min-jun's success. In the special weapon training, Kim Min-jun asked why Dong-jin wasn't joining him since it was supposed to be a team of two. But not everyone could participate. Moreover, the team members were decided by the executive officer through a random lottery, often called the foot of a ghost. The time for special weapon training arrived quickly. The scar-faced sergeant was the instructor for this session. Unexpectedly, Kim Gwangshik was his partner. Even before the training began, Gwangshik was already boasting, teamed up with a recruit? This is going to be unbalanced. After all, a sergeant and a private are from two different worlds. His expression showed that he hadn't learned his lesson from his previous stomach ache, still acting arrogant. But that didn't bother Kim Min-jun. He let Gwangshik boast, knowing that losing later would be more humiliating and haunting for him. Gwangshik even used his grotesque face to threaten Kim Min-jun, "Make sure to finish this in 3 minutes, or you'll regret it." Kim Min-jun, keeping a straight face, silently took note of this. After all, Gwangshik was just a pathetic loser. Before their showdown, another team went first. After the command, the battle between the two sergeants began. The special weapon training started with a team of two being deployed into a ground facility from two directions. In other words, this was a tactical monster-clearing training while protecting civilian targets in a confined area. However, it had turned into a military competition. The goal was to complete the challenge as quickly and cleanly as possible and press the finish button at the destination before your opponent. Observers could track the progress of the competing teams through a live schematic. The large screen marked different monsters by size, with bigger markers indicating more dangerous monsters. Each path had 2 monsters, and their types were random, so no one knew what they would face until they entered. The first team took just 2 minutes and 24 seconds to complete the challenge. 3 monsters appeared this time, a frog, a rat, and a desert worm, and the winner would be treated to a meal at the PX. This bet was because they had wagered against each other. Kim Min-jung, quickly catching on to the scheme, suggested they place a bet. Kim Min-jun promptly proposed a wager where the loser would follow the winner's demand like a man. Naturally, Gwangshik didn't refuse such a lucrative bet. He laughed and said, "If I win, Kim Min-jun will have to give me 3 months' salary." Kim Min-jun, surprised by how trivial his demand was, readily agreed. He agreed so quickly that Dong-jin couldn't stop him in time. They soon entered the preparation area. Upon arrival, Kim Min-jun sensed that familiar cheap provocation. He knew standing out too much wasn't good, but he wasn't mature enough to sit still when someone sought him out. The battle quickly began. Everyone outside watched with excitement, aware of the bet between the 2 competitors. None of them believed that Kim Min-jun would win. At this moment, the ground suddenly shook. Everyone thought it was an earthquake, but no, a larger monster was approaching the smaller one. Unfortunately, a sudden situation occurred on Kim Min-jun's path, and he felt the tremors very close to him. A giant one-eyed, two-horned monster had devoured the rat in the first room. Although this was the first time he had seen such behavior, Kim Min-jun only thought about quickly finishing it off and getting some fried chicken. When the monster saw him, it dropped its unfinished meal and charged at him. Kim Min-jun had to shoot the monster but couldn't hit the civilian targets. He started to get annoyed because the monster was too disruptive, so he used dark magic to send one of its arms flying. The monster was distracted by its severed arm, and Kim Min-jun took the opportunity to try and shoot it down, but just as he thought about it, the arm grew back, and it seemed even more aggressive than before. Meanwhile, the soldiers outside were astonished by the situation. The scar-faced instructor was also stunned by the sight. Cyclops was a voracious demon. Once it used its energy, its regenerative and offensive capabilities would increase dramatically until the digestion process was complete. But something was strange here. It wouldn't attack unless its life was threatened. It had escaped confinement and got angry after eating another monster. What provoked it? It was the protagonist, Kim Min-jun, who was currently in a fierce fight. A raging monster directly sparked the utmost excitement in Kim Min-jun. He skillfully dodged its ferocious attacks while muttering, "Oh wow, this dynamic little beast." Although he had a way to defeat it more easily, since this was weapon training, he had to use a gun. After a series of fierce gunfire exchanges, the monster's eye was temporarily damaged. Its eye regeneration was slower than its limbs, and this was the chance to neatly finish it off. Of course, Kim Min-jun wouldn't miss an opportunity he created. But unexpectedly, the monster could still attack him even without seeing anything. More astonishingly, it could aim precisely where he stood. While he pondered the reason, it swung a brutal slash, which he narrowly dodged, or he would have lost his head. Then it used its remaining arm to try to crush him. But things weren't going to be that easy. Kim Min-jun gently blocked the blow with one hand while still deep in his analysis. "You're reacting to my dark energy?" His eyes lit up, and a sinister purple energy wave surrounded his body. Meanwhile, the scar-faced sergeant, fully armed, headed into Kim Min-jun's training tunnel, hoping he could hold out until he arrived for reinforcement. On the other side of the tunnel, Kim Gwangshik was joyfully running, now at about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. He was confident that a mere private like Kim Min-jun couldn't match this performance and started planning how to spend his winnings. Just as he was daydreaming of a vacation with blue seas, white sands, and golden sunshine, he saw the underdog standing there, looking at the red button. Kim Min-jun saw him and flashed a mocking smile before pressing the button right in front of him. This was exactly the outcome Kim Min-jun desired. The expression of disbelief on Kim Gwangshik's face was evident. The scar-faced sergeant also wondered how Kim Min-jun managed to defeat such a terrifying monster. Both Kim Min-jun and Kim Gwangshik returned to the observation room, but each in a different states. The whole room applauded Kim Min-jun's 2-minute feat, regardless of Kim Gwangshik's scowl. Dongjin was the only one worried, asking how he was, while everyone else celebrated the victory. As Kim Min-jun mingled with the group, Kim Gwangshik gritted his teeth and left. A soldier reminded them about their bet and asked what Kim Min-jun's winning condition was. Before he could answer, Kim Gwangshik returned, smacked the soldier, and demanded to cancel the bet. This guy was cunning. He loudly claimed that the bet wasn't fair because he fought 2 monsters while Kim Min-jun only faced 1. In cases of being oppressed by a superior, Lee Dongjin couldn't immediately side with a recruit like Kim Min-jun. Although he was surprised by Kim Min-jun's encounter with the monster, he didn't feel too comfortable beating it with his bare hands, so he planned to forget about the bet. But this guy was annoying from every angle, so he couldn't let it go. Amid the commotion, a voice rang out, "Aren't you ashamed?" The newbie took higher risks. Kim Gwangshik turned to see who dared to speak, only to find that it was Lee Sungo. The conflict quickly shifted to these two. After a heated exchange, Lee Sungo concluded, "Having a higher rank is great, isn't it, Corporal Gwangshik?" This full damage, critical hit combo left Gwangshik speechless. Seeing his face turn red was satisfying. Although furious, Gwangshik didn't dare retort. Lee Sungo was a top-tier representative in the Hunter Regiment. He had been promoted twice for achieving the highest rank in the advanced exams. However, this special promotion was abolished after a sergeant caused an incident in the dungeon. Lee Sungo was one of the last cases. Even so, was there no other way to get special promotions anymore? There were exceptions, like rescuing civilians in emergencies or achieving outstanding results in monster hunts, but it was best not to expect such things. Despite his strong desire for promotion, he didn't wish for civilians to be harmed, but it had been so peaceful here. Did he want to be promoted right away? Oh, how he wished a gate would appear at this moment. As soon as he finished his sentence, it seemed like a godsend opportunity arrived. The command center radio reported an emergency alert. A significant number of mid-level bats had appeared in the oil storage area. Kim Min-jun couldn't believe his luck, his wish came true. Mid-level bats were monsters the size of a child, living in caves. A single one wasn't much of a threat, but they were especially agile and could spit fireballs. Their appearance in the oil storage area was an emergency, as the entire military camp could be blown up. Seeing the swarm of bats overhead like flies, the two gatekeepers were at a loss. The long-haired young man was itching to shoot but was stopped by the short-haired one because firing was not allowed there. But they couldn't just stand and watch. Thinking about the bats igniting the oil before reinforcements arrived, the two were scared but helpless. As they were scratching their heads in despair, Kim Min-jun appeared, offering to attract the bats' attention. The gatekeepers, seeing he was a rookie without any equipment, were not very trusting. Good heavens, who would carry equipment when these wonderful promotion aids were waiting? Thinking about the great rewards after this battle, Kim Min-jun was very excited. He jumped into action immediately, activating his dark energy to get the bats' attention. As expected, they reacted. Well, all of you are mine now, he thought. At this moment, the rescue team arrived, but what were they seeing? Lee Sung-go, carrying large and small crates, came and scolded them for standing still. But now, Kim Min-jun was clearing the path with his bare hands, filled with vigor. Lee Sung-go shouted, "Hey, you idiots! A private is attracting their attention, and you're just standing there?" Kim Min-jun tore a bat apart with his hands as if tearing a chicken. It was a bit too crude and time-consuming, so he thought about something more useful. Just then, Lee Sung-go approached with an electric baton, wanting to stop his reckless actions. But Kim Min-jun had no intention of listening. Anyone trying to steal his glory had to step aside. But, wait, that baton could stay. Sorry, Lee Sung-go, but I need this, he thought. And so, Kim Min-jun shamelessly took the electric baton. To him, it was no different than an electric fly swatter. With a calculating smile, Kim Min-jun quickly cleared the bats at lightning speed. One bat tried to spit a fireball, and Lee Sung-go ordered a soldier to shoot it down. But before anyone could act, Kim Min-jun had already leaped behind it and struck it down just as the fire was about to leave its mouth. How did he get up there? More importantly, how high did he just jump, they wondered. The defensive shield was activated to protect the oil storage area, and other soldiers began clearing the bat carcasses, unsure of when they would finish. At this point, Task Officer Captain Song Junshik appeared, casually praised a few times and began inquiring about the situation. No one knew where he was while others were fighting. Lee Sung-go was upset with his boss's attitude, continuously frowning. Song Junshik said he would report Sung-go's achievements to the battalion commander. Not me, Lee Sung-go firmly said. Song Junshik was quite surprised. Lee Sung-go insisted that he wasn't the one who killed the 30 bats. Song Junshik was adamant because he couldn't think of anyone else capable of that. "Hello, I'm here to return your electric baton." "Sir, is this thing expensive?" "I got a bit carried away and broke it," said Kim Min-jun. The next day, Kim Min-jun was summoned by Lee Sung-go to his office and was bombarded with 1,001 questions, which he calmly answered. Yet, Lee Sung-go concluded that Kim Min-jun's achievement yesterday was just a stroke of luck. This irritated Kim Min-jun. Lee Sung-go then mentioned the special nature of the Hunter Regiment. Not every awakened person got to join the military, which Kim Min-jun knew but didn't understand why it was brought up. Sung-go emphasized that from privates to division commanders, all were awakened individuals in the Hunter Regiment. This realization was astonishing. Not all members fought, especially officers, but all were awakened, and promotions were based on strength and achievements, not tenure. Hearing this, Kim Min-jun's face fell. Being called in early morning just to be lectured was exhausting. But the real surprise was yet to come. Today, their Hunter Regiment had the honor of welcoming a historic figure, the hunter with the most monster kills in history. Division 104 was visited by a man with a scruffy beard and mustache. Leading the reception was Company 2's commander, Lee Junbyum, followed by 4 prominent figures. As soon as he arrived, he immediately shook hands with Lee Sung-go, praising him for calmly handling the situation. Lee Sung-go stood straight and seriously thanked the commander, his gaze like daggers. Kim Min-jun wondered what the standards were to achieve 2 stars in the Hunter Regiment. Soon, it was Kim Min-jun's turn to be greeted and shaken hands with. He realized the commander used quite a bit of strength, hitting him hard on the back while speaking. The entire team moved into the meeting room. The hunter asked if they had identified the location of the dungeon gate. It was located on a hill to the northeast, 1.20 kilometers from the camp. The regiment was currently controlling the area and investigating the gate's rank. Regardless of what he asked, everyone responded with all their might. Later, the hunter reminded Kim Min-jun, "Yesterday, you did something brave, your quick reaction was commendable, but you should have thought about bringing your equipment." Nonetheless, he praised him for his quick thinking, which prevented the oil tank from exploding and saving the entire army. Therefore, the reward given by the division commander was an immediate promotion and an additional 3-day, 2-night vacation. This wonderful reward made Kim Min-jun's eyes sparkle with joy, grinning from ear to ear. In the hallway, the commander praised him again, asking how he was already going home despite being a recruit. When asked where he planned to go, Kim Min-jun's smile turned crooked. Without hesitation, he grabbed his backpack and headed straight to an internet cafe, wanting to spend his 3-day, 2-night vacation there. Just as he reached the door, he overheard 2 men drinking on the roadside talking about someone not being allowed by soldiers to enter a cave to pick mushrooms. One mentioned that someone named Chang-sun had already gone in earlier. Moreover, there was toxic gas on the mountain, and they feared that anyone entering would face the same fate. The determined man believed that wearing a gas mask would suffice. At this moment, Kim Min-jun intervened, asking where the location was. Naturally, he couldn't miss this off-duty monster hunt. Seeing the private's insignia on his uniform, the 2 men were speechless and finally warned him not to tell anyone about their conversation and then left. Even at the foot of the mountain, he felt the familiar presence of dark energy, making him glad he left the internet cafe. Upon reaching the top, he saw everyone wearing gas masks, guarding the entrance. Being a private, he shouldn't stand out too much, so he made the guards suffer from diarrhea to sneak inside. The guards quickly called for a shift change, allowing Kim Min-jun to slip in. Exploring the cave, he didn't find traces of monsters but felt a dense magical presence, which wasn't bad, so he took the opportunity to recharge. Surprisingly, he upgraded his rotting skill and unlocked a new skill, Night Walker. This was fantastic. The rotting skill reached D rank, and Night Walker, an E rank skill, allowed him to summon a creature in the form of a shadow, excellent for stealth and assassinations. Maintaining the summon required feeding it an equivalent amount of magical energy each cycle. Although it was worth the cost, the tiny black creature he summoned was disappointingly small. Looking at it, Kim Min-jun couldn't believe he had created it, but the reality was harsh. Even a small ray of sunlight almost melted it. It didn't look like a creature that could hide in the shadows at all. 3 days and 2 nights passed quickly. Kim Min-jun returned to the regiment, warmly welcomed by his comrades. He glanced around the room and handed a paper bag to Dong-jin, who was touched to receive a bottle of lotion as a gift from Kim Min-jun. Just then, Kim Gwangshik appeared, as he also had a favor to ask, a women's magazine named Maxim. Kim Min-jun had bought it, but it turned out to be packets of Maxim brand sugar. As they chatted, the conversation turned to the promotion exam candidate list, which included Kim Min-jun despite him being a recruit for less than a year, and he couldn't register himself. The red-haired soldier excitedly asked, "Did the division commander sign you up?" However, the timing didn't add up. Hearing this, everyone exchanged knowing glances. Amid the bustling discussion, Kim Min-jun mentioned the training battalion commander's suggestion. After hearing his story, the entire team was stunned. The red and brown-haired soldiers were amazed by his craziness. While everyone buzzed around, Kim Gwangshik sipped his sugar water, speechless. They soon left, but not before leaving a note about primary weapon training, wondering how it differed from rifles. The next morning, everyone started their theory lesson for the promotion exam happening the following day. The hunter promotion exam consisted of 2 main parts, a written test and a practical test. The written test could be easily passed with basic knowledge, easier than a driver's license test. However, the practical test was crucial, assessing weapon proficiency and response to monsters. Kim Min-jun wondered about the rewards for scoring perfectly on the practical test. Maybe he should take it seriously. Soon, the practical weapon training exam began. Privates and first-class soldiers could only use swords. Senior soldiers practiced with their weapons further away. Privates and first-class soldiers were trained in basic swordsmanship according to the Hunter Regiment's combat doctrine and then adapted it to suit themselves rather than mechanically copying the doctrine. The instructor demonstrated so they could follow along. His sword movements were extremely precise and swift. Now, Kim Min-jun understood why it was called primary weapon training, because trying to capture monsters with just a rifle was ridiculous. When it was his turn to practice swordsmanship, he used the techniques he had learned in Asgard. That technique was still better, but it seemed to depend on the user. As soon as he finished his demonstration, the instructor asked everyone to stop and invited Kim Min-jun to step forward. He wanted everyone to observe how Kim Min-jun had done it. Without hesitation, Kim Min-jun demonstrated his skills, leaving everyone speechless, and suddenly found himself acting as an assistant instructor, quite exhausting. Even during his break, the instructor approached him again, saying that the training officer was very impressed with him and gave him a chocolate bar as a reward. As soon as the instructor left, Dong-jin came over, asking Kim Min-jun to demonstrate the technique again as he wasn't confident in his swordsmanship. Unable to ignore his friend, Kim Min-joon ate his snack while watching Dong-jin practice. His movements showed that he had been practicing diligently. This was indeed the swordsmanship of the hunter regiment. The problem wasn't the technique, it was the lack of confidence, and Kim Min-joon was an expert at fixing that. However, now wasn't the time. When the moment came, he'd help his friend become a top hunter. Saturday, the day of the promotion survey, had arrived. It was time to become a non-commissioned officer. Today, Lieutenant Kim Ko-elman would be the guide for everyone. First, each person would report their military rank, and then they would move to the 105th Gapyeong Division. On the way, Kim Min-joon noticed two soldiers discussing that Squad 4 was also participating in the promotion survey today. The other soldier remarked that they might get to see some girls today, information that was 100% accurate, so they might as well plan to flirt. For Kim Min-joon, women were fleeting. After all, that saintly woman had left quite a mark on him. The vehicle quickly transported the soldiers to the 105th Division. In the examination room, everyone quietly received their results. It was surprising that even the written test, which was easier than eating cake, had one person who managed to fail. What a disgrace. Aside from him, the others would move immediately to the practical examination room. As they left the room, he was still being ridiculed by the other soldiers. As the group passed by, Sun Yunseo continued to glance at Kim Min-joon. The first practical test was overseen by Lieutenant Lee Kyeolju, who delivered such a persuasive presentation that everyone felt nothing but sleepy. Finally, this year's promotion exam featured some special exceptions, the 104th Division's Private First Class Kim Min-joon and Private Sun Yunseo. After this announcement, everyone's eyes turned to Sun Yunseo, the thorny rose adored by many men. Kim Min-joon was also surprised to find that there was another exception besides him. The other soldiers began to feel anxious. What kind of division was this, full of monsters? Next, they began searching for those promoted to Private First Class. Sun Yunseo had also noticed Kim Min-joon. By chance, their eyes met, but neither wanted to stare for too long. The practical exam involved testing strength, endurance, and stamina. The strength test began first. It was simple, just push back the examiner in front of everyone, the one with the pineapple-shaped head, who was as big as a gorilla. Kim Min-joon recalled how he shattered that boulder with a single punch and wondered why every test was designed like this. Each person had a maximum of 1 minute. Scores would be assessed on a 100 scale, with the highest score adding 10 meters to their movement distance. One by one, the soldiers were called to take the test. The first up was Private Kim Jin-yeok from the 103rd Division. He was muscular with a rugged face, but no matter what he tried, he couldn't budge the pineapple-headed instructor. At this point, the examiner reminded everyone that those scoring below 40 would be automatically disqualified from the exam. The audience started sweating nervously. The following participants, both male and female, failed one after another. The supervising instructor began to lose patience. Then it was Sun Yunseo's turn. She pushed the examiner back 5 meters, astonishing everyone present, including the examiner himself. Some soldiers cheered for her beauty, and others recognized her as the daughter of the division commander, but they were all captivated by her. Sun Yunseo, however, paid no attention, glancing briefly at Kim Min-joon before quickly walking away. Kim Min-joon had no thoughts other than realizing that she was the other exception. Immediately afterward, it was Kim Min-joon's turn for the test. Standing before the instructor, he thought that repeating what he did with the redstone wouldn't work, but if he could push this guy back more than 10 meters, he'd get bonus points. So, the instructor would have to fly a bit farther. The pineapple-headed instructor gritted his teeth and braced himself against the floor to avoid being thrown too far. With just a light push, Kim Min-joon sent him sliding 2 or 3 extra meters, even digging a groove into the floor. This terrifying feat made both examiners break out in a cold sweat. No doubt about it, he scored a perfect 100, yet Kim Min-joon still regretted. Oh, so no bonus points, huh? Kim Min-jong's impressive performance didn't mean everyone else could achieve the same. The elimination process was extremely harsh, with some even bursting into tears due to its severity. Finally, the strength test concluded, and those who passed moved on to the speed test. The support soldiers quickly set up a net and even installed a large machine gun. Everyone guessed this was the bullet dodging test. The instructor chuckled, saying, "These are just rubber bullets, but if you get hit, it'll sting, so you'd better dodge them all." This seemed like something new. The speed test's maximum time limit was 1 minute. As long as the participants stayed within the left and right boundaries of the net for 1 minute, they would pass, and it would also be a testament to their dodging ability. The elimination criteria were set at 30 seconds. If someone left the net before 30 seconds or sustained severe injuries, they would be disqualified from the promotion exam. The test began, and before long, someone approached Kim Min-joon. It was none other than Dong-jin. He initially thought Kim Min-jun had already been eliminated from the strength test. No way, he said, but Dong Jin was just trying to remind him of the dangers of rubber bullets since all the other private first classes had already been eliminated before and had warned him as well. As soon as he finished speaking, a comrade got hit in the head by a bullet, blood spurting out, and was immediately disqualified and escorted to the infirmary. The promotion exam's passing rate was unexpectedly low, but compared to fighting monsters, this difficulty level was nothing. As more and more hunters were disqualified, the instructor couldn't hold back his anger and scolded them for their lack of skill. After this lecture, it was Sun Yunseo's turn. She carefully warmed up and then began dodging bullets with incredible speed and agility, using her whole body to evade. Her skill left the men around her wide-eyed and the instructor deeply impressed. As her time ended, Sun Yunseo scored a perfect result with ease. While passing by Kim Min-jun, she shot him a fierce look. Kim Min-jun was baffled, not understanding what was going on, while those around him started to think the two were dating. When it was Kim Min-jun's turn, Sun Yunseo kept staring at him without blinking. He stepped into the test area, feeling 90% indifferent, but the remaining 10% of him dodged the bullets effortlessly as if they were nothing. Sun Yunseo was stunned as she saw Kim Min-jun nonchalantly put his hands in his pockets. "I'll show you all the difference in skill," he thought. Everyone present was amazed as he gracefully moved around, dodging every rubber bullet without even breaking a sweat. He even struck a few poses to tease Sun Yunseo. The instructor was at a loss for words and even forgot to stop the timer, letting the test run over by more than 10 seconds before finally calling for a ceasefire. In this test, Kim Min-jun achieved a flawless speed score, which didn't surprise anyone. Finally, those who passed the speed test were taken to a dungeon entrance for the endurance test. The test required them to run sequentially for 40 minutes, and they only needed to get a stamp from the examiner and return. The only issue was the unknown distance to the checkpoint. They had no idea how far they would have to run. This information was kept secret by the commander. As the test began, everyone was cautious, adjusting their speed accordingly. But this turtle-paced running made Kim Min-jun incredibly frustrated. "It's okay if I break off and go alone, right?" he thought. As he was lost in thought, Sun Yunseo suddenly dashed past him, glancing back as if challenging him. "You picked the wrong opponent if you wanted a challenge," he thought, raising his eyebrows as he began to speed up. Before long, he caught up with Sun Yunseo. "Nothing special here," he thought as he smirked at her before effortlessly passing her by with a smug grin. "I'll have to try as hard as you do." As she watched his figure fade into the distance, Sun Yunseo recalled the days when she first joined the military and was welcomed by her fellow female soldiers. However, behind their cheerful demeanor, there was always an undercurrent of judgment because of her status as the general's daughter. People would gossip about her wherever she went. "She's just arrogant because she's the general's daughter," they would say. Sun Yunseo had always tried to ignore those rumors. Then Kim Min-jun appeared. Ever since then, no matter what achievement she earned, there was always another, even greater achievement by Kim Min-jun right behind her. Everywhere she went, she overheard her female comrades talking about him, and the chatter would continue even into her sleep. Sun Yunseo then remembered the image of her father from when she was a child. He had patted her head before leaving, but he never came back. Since then, Sun Yunseo has resolved to make herself stronger, just like her father. One day, when she visited the captain's office, he asked her where she wanted to go, suggesting the 107th Division under General Sun's command. But instead, Sun Yunseo asked where Kim Min-jun would be stationed. Reflecting on that, she realized it wasn't that she truly wanted to be here, but rather that her childish, competitive spirit and a moment of anger had driven her to act impulsively like a child. Thinking back on Kim Min-jun's exceptional performance, she blushed, embarrassed by how envious she had been. However, she also admitted that her goal was not to become the best but to grow stronger. She had come here to become stronger without relying on her father's help. If she met someone truly strong, she would strive to earn their recognition and learn something from them, no matter how small. She struggled to reach the checkpoint, only to find Kim Min-jun already there, chatting away so much that the instructor had to shoo him away. When he saw Sun Yunseo, he raised his stamped hand and smiled, a victorious smile, telling her she did well and that he had almost fallen asleep waiting for her. Sun Yunseo wished she could take back what she said earlier. Flushing with anger, she demanded that the instructor quickly stamp her hand, then rushed back. Exiting the dungeon, Kim Min-jun appeared without a drop of sweat on him, his hair perfectly in place, looking effortlessly handsome. Sun Yunseo, right behind him, was exhausted, barely able to catch her breath. The others who followed were dragging themselves out, half alive. Kim Min-jun claimed first place with a time of 29 minutes, making the instructor beam with joy. Sun Yunseo finished second with a time of 32 minutes. The instructor couldn't help but praise Kim Min-jun, saying he was outstanding, having achieved perfect scores in every category. All the tests concluded there. As everyone gathered their gear to head home, Kim Min-jun stuck his tongue out at Sun Yunseo, teasing her before walking away, leaving her pale with frustration. Watching him joke around with others, she realized that she was the only one who had been provoked, but since she had lost, she simply smiled and accepted it. This smile marked the end of today's recap. See you all in the next episode. Peace.